Jerusalem is one of the oldest cities in the world. People have lived there for thousands and thousands of years. It sits in the middle of a hilly area in the land we now call Israel and Palestine. The city is in the Middle East. It is a place that many people around the world think about every single day. The first people to live near Jerusalem came a very long time ago. Scientists and historians believe people started settling there around 3,500 BCE. That is more than 5,000 years ago. These early people liked the area because it had water. There was a spring called the Gin Spring. Water was very important for people to survive. Without water, no one could live in a place for long. The land around Jerusalem also had good soil. People could grow food there. The hills gave them protection from enemies. If you live on a hill, you can see when danger is coming. This made Jerusalem a smart place to build a home. The very early city was small. It was not big like the cities we know today. The people who lived there built simple homes. They farmed the land and raised animals. They traded with people from nearby towns. Life was not easy, but they worked hard to build a community. The name Jerusalem is very old too. Some people believe the name comes from an ancient word meaning city of peace or foundation of peace. That is a beautiful meaning. But over time, Jerusalem became a city that many groups wanted to control. Many wars were fought over it. Even today, people still disagree about who it belongs to. This small, ancient city would grow into one of the most important places in all of human history. Before the stories most people know, Jerusalem was home to a group called the Canaanites. The Canaanites were the people who lived in the land we now call Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and parts of Syria. They lived in this region for a very long time. They were farmers, traders, and builders. The early city of Jerusalem during the Canaanite period was called Jebus. The people who lived there were sometimes called Jebusites. They were one group inside the larger Canaanite people. The Jebusites built a small but strong city on a hill. That hill was later called the City of David, but the Jebusites lived there first. The Jebusites were good at building walls. Strong walls were very important in those times. Enemies could attack your city at any moment. A thick, tall wall could stop an army from coming in. The Jebusites built walls around their city to keep it safe. They also controlled the Gin Spring, which gave them fresh water. This was a big advantage. The Canaanite people had their own religion. They believed in many gods. They prayed to God's rain, farming, and nature. They built temples and special places to worship their gods. Religion was a very big part of their daily life. Life in ancient Jebus was mostly peaceful at times, but there were also wars with other groups. Many different tribes and kingdoms were fighting for land in this region. The Canaanites tried hard to hold on to their cities and their way of life. The Jebusites stayed in Jerusalem for hundreds of years, but this would change. A powerful new king from the Israelite people was coming. He had big plans for the city of Jebus. Everything was about to change for Jerusalem. Around 1000 BCE, a famous king named David came to Jerusalem. David was the king of the Israelites. The Israelites were a people who believed in one God. They had been living in the land of Canaan for many years, but they needed a strong capital city. David chose Jerusalem. At that time, Jerusalem was still called Jebus. The Jebusites lived inside the city walls. They felt safe and strong. They even told David he could not get inside. They said their walls were too strong. But David found a way in. His soldiers went through a water tunnel that ran under the city. This tunnel connected to the Gihon Spring. His men climbed to the tunnel and opened the gates from inside. David took the city without destroying it. He made Jerusalem his capital city. He called it the City of David. This was a smart choice. Jerusalem sat between the northern and southern tribes of Israel. By choosing it as a capital, David helped bring his people together. David was a very important king. He made the Israelite kingdom strong. He fought many enemies and won. He was also known for writing poems and songs called psalms. Many of these are still read today in churches and synagogues around the world. David wanted to build a great temple in Jerusalem for God. He collected gold, silver, and materials for the temple. But God told him that his son would build the temple, not him. So David prepared everything but did not build it himself. David ruled Jerusalem for many years. He was loved by his people. He made Jerusalem into a real city with a palace, an army, and strong walls. His rule changed Jerusalem forever. After David, the city would only grow bigger and more important. After King David died, his son Solomon became king. Solomon was known for being very wise. People came from far away just to hear his wise words. The Queen of Sheba, from a land far to south, made a long journey just to meet him. Solomon was famous not just in his own land, but in many countries. Solomon did what his father David could not do. He built the great temple in Jerusalem. This temple was the most important building for the Israelite people. It was the place where they believed God lived on earth. Building it was a huge project. It took 7 years to finish. Solomon used the best materials. He brought in cedar wood from Lebanon. He used stone and gold. He hired skilled workers from many places. The temple was beautiful. Inside, there was a special room called the Holy of Holies. This was the most sacred room. It held the Ark of the Covenant, a special golden box that the Israelites believed held the presence of God. Solomon also built a great palace for himself. He built walls around Jerusalem and made the city much bigger and stronger. Trade grew under Solomon's rule. Ships went to sea and came back with gold, silver, and spices. Jerusalem became a rich and powerful city. But Solomon also made some mistakes. He taxed his people heavily to pay for all the building. Many people were unhappy about this. He also allowed his foreign wives to bring their own religions into Jerusalem. This upset the religious leaders. After Solomon died, his kingdom split into 2 parts. The northern part was called Israel, and the southern part was called Judah. Jerusalem stayed the capital of Judah. Even after the split, the temple remained the heart of the city and the faith of the people. After King Solomon, Jerusalem went through many hard times. The kingdom was divided. Different kings ruled. Some kings were good and followed God's laws. Others were bad and did not care about religion or justice. The people of Judah faced many enemies from outside. The biggest threat came from a powerful empire in the east called Babylon. The Babylonian king was named Nebuchadnezzar. He was one of the most powerful rulers in the ancient world. His army was huge and very strong. Nebuchadnezzar attacked Jerusalem more than once. The first time, around 605 BC, he came and took some important people back to Babylon as prisoners. One of those prisoners was a young man named Daniel, who later became famous for his wisdom and his faith. Then in 597 BC, Nebuchadnezzar came back. He took more people away, including the king and many important leaders. This time, he also took treasures from the temple. The worst attack came in 586 BC. Nebuchadnezzar's army surrounded Jerusalem. The siege went on for many months. Food ran out. People were hungry and weak. Finally, the walls of Jerusalem were broken down. The soldiers entered the city. They burned the temple that Solomon had built. They burned the palace and many homes. They broke down the great walls of the city. Many people of Jerusalem were killed. Others were taken away to Babylon as slaves or prisoners. This event is called the Babylonian exile. It was one of the saddest moments in the history of the Jewish people. For many years, Jerusalem lay empty and broken. The great city that David built and Solomon made beautiful was now in ruins. But the people never forgot their city. Even in Babylon, they cried and prayed, hoping one day to return to Jerusalem after many years in Babylon. Hope came from an unexpected place. A new empire rose in the east. The Persians, led by King Cyrus the Great, defeated Babylon in 539 BCE. Cyrus was different from Nebuchadnezzar. He was known for being kind to the people he conquered. He let them keep their own religions and customs. Cyrus made a famous declaration. He said that the Jewish people could go back to their homeland. He even gave back the treasures that Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple. This was a wonderful moment for the Jewish people. They had waited and prayed for this day. The return to Jerusalem was not easy. The city was still in ruins. The temple was gone. The walls were broken. But the people came back with great hope. Under leaders like Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah, the city slowly came back to life. The second temple was built around 516 BC. It was not as grand as Solomon's temple, but it was still a holy place. Nehemiah organized a rebuilding of the city walls. People worked day and night to finish the walls so the city would be safe again. Jerusalem grew again under Persian rule. The Jewish people could practice their religion. They could read their holy books, follow their laws, and worship in temple. But Persian rule did not last forever. A young and brilliant Greek king named Alexander the Great was conquering the world. In 332 BC, Alexander took control of the land of Judah. He entered Jerusalem peacefully, and the Jews were treated well under his rule. After Alexander died, his generals divided his empire. Jerusalem passed between different Greek rulers. Greek language and culture began to mix with Jewish life. Some Jewish people welcomed this. Others did not. A big conflict was coming. After the Greek rulers, a new power rose in the West. The Roman Empire was one of the greatest empires in all of history. Rome controlled land from Europe to Asia. Its armies were disciplined and very powerful. Eventually, Rome turned its eyes toward Judea, the land around Jerusalem. In 63 BCE, a Roman general named Pompey marched into Jerusalem. He walked right into the temple, even into the Holy of Holies. This shocked the Jewish people deeply. It felt like a great insult to their faith. But Pompey did not destroy the city. He made Judea a part of Rome's territory. Later, a man named Herod the Great became king of Judea under Roman rule. Herod was a strong but often cruel ruler. However, he was also a great builder. He made Jerusalem bigger and more beautiful than it had ever been. He rebuilt the Second Temple on a massive scale. The Temple Mount, the platform where the temple sat, became enormous. Huge stones were used in its construction. Some of those stones still exist today, and people visit them. Herod also built palaces, towers, and other great structures. Jerusalem during Herod's time was a city of grand buildings and impressive architecture. Many people came to the city for religious festivals and celebrations. After Herod died, Roman governors ruled Judea. The relationship between the Romans and the Jewish people became very tense. The Romans imposed heavy taxes. They did not always respect Jewish religious traditions. This created great anger among the people. In 70 CE, after a major Jewish revolt, Roman General Titus attacked Jerusalem. His army broke through the walls and burned the Second Temple. This was a catastrophic event. The temple has never been rebuilt since that day. Thousands of Jews were killed, and many more were sent away from their homeland. Jerusalem lay in ruins once more. Before the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in 70 CE, something very important happened in the city. A Jewish man named Jesus was born in the nearby town of Bethlehem. He grew up and began teaching in the region of Galilee and Judea. He taught about love, forgiveness, and the kingdom of God. Thousands of people came to hear him speak. Jesus came to Jerusalem for the Jewish holiday of Passover. He entered the city riding on a donkey. People welcomed him and laid palm leaves on the road before him. This event is remembered by Christians every year on Palm Sunday. But not everyone was happy about Jesus. The religious leaders in Jerusalem felt threatened by him. The Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, was also concerned about unrest. Jesus was arrested, put on trial, and sentenced to death. He was crucified, which means he was killed on a wooden cross outside the city walls. Christians believe that 3 days later, Jesus rose from the dead. This event is called the resurrection. It is the most important event in the Christian faith. After Jesus died and rose again, his followers spread his message all over the world. Jerusalem became a holy city for Christians because it was a place where Jesus died and rose again. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre was later built on the place where Jesus was buried. This church still stands today, and millions of people visit it every year. As Christianity spread to the Roman Empire, things slowly changed. In 313 CE, the Roman Emperor Constantine made Christianity legal. Later, Jerusalem became an important center of the Christian faith. Churches were built across the city. Pilgrims from far away came to walk the streets where Jesus once walked. Jerusalem was no longer just a Jewish city. It was now holy for Christians too. In the 600 CE, a new religion was born in the Arabian Peninsula. The Prophet Muhammad began teaching the message of Islam. Islam spread very quickly across Arabia and then to other lands. After the Prophet Muhammad died, his followers, called Muslims, continued to spread the faith with great energy. In 637 CE, a Muslim army came to Jerusalem. The city was then under control of the Byzantine Empire, which was the eastern part of the Roman Empire. The Byzantine Christians defended the city, but eventually they agreed to surrender peacefully. Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab himself came to Jerusalem to accept the surrender. He treated the people of Jerusalem with great respect. He promised that the churches and holy places of Christians and Jews would be protected. This was seen as an act of great wisdom and kindness. Jerusalem is also a very holy city in Islam. Muslims believe that the Prophet Muhammad made a miraculous night journey from Mecca to Jerusalem. From Jerusalem, he ascended to heaven to meet God. This event is called the Isra and Miraj. The place from which he ascended is believed to be a special rock on the Temple Mount. The Muslims built two famous structures on the Temple Mount. The first was the Dome of the Rock, completed in 691 CE. This beautiful building has a golden dome that still shines over Jerusalem today. The second was the Al-Aqsa Mosque, a large mosque for prayer. These buildings made the Temple Mount one of the holiest sites in Islam. Jerusalem was now a city holy to three great world religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This made it one of the most unique and important cities in all of human history. But this also meant that many groups would continue to fight over it for centuries to come. After Muslim rule, Jerusalem changed hands many more times. The Christian Crusaders captured the city in 1099 CE and ruled it for about 90 years. Then the great Muslim leader Saladin took it back in 1187 CE. For the next several centuries, Jerusalem was mostly under Muslim rule. In the 1500s, the Ottoman Empire took control of Jerusalem. The Ottomans were a powerful Turkish Muslim empire. They ruled Jerusalem for about 400 years. The famous walls around the old city of Jerusalem today were built by the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent in the 1500s. These walls are still standing and still beautiful. After World War I, the British took control of the region. This period was called the British Mandate. Many Jewish people from Europe came to live in the land, hoping to return to their ancient homeland. This created tension with the Arab people already living there. In 1948, the State of Israel was created. A war broke out immediately. Jerusalem was divided into two parts. The western part was controlled by Israel. The eastern part, including the Old City and the holy sites, was controlled by Jordan. Jewish people could not visit the Western Wall or other holy places in the East. In 1967, a war called the Six-Day War changed things again. Israel took control of all of Jerusalem, including the eastern part. Israel declared Jerusalem its capital city. But many countries of the world did not accept this. Palestinians also claimed Jerusalem as their capital. Today, Jerusalem is a living city with more than 1 million people. People of many religions, languages, and backgrounds live there. The Old City still holds the Western Wall, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and the Dome of the Rock. These holy places remind the world of Jerusalem's long and extraordinary history. It is truly a city like no other.